Hello, this is Miss D again. Today we will be exploring how we can model the decomposition of one whole into fractional and decimal units. Let's get started by looking at slide B. So here we have a scale with bags of rice. What do you notice? What do you wonder? And what does this make you think about fractions and decimals? Pause and think. When you're ready, press play. So, what did you notice? Did you notice that there are 10 bags of rice? Did you notice that the 10 bags weigh 1 kilogram? What did you wonder? Did you wonder how much one bag of rice weighs? Did you wonder if one bag is 1/10 of a kilogram? Did you wonder what 1/10 of a kilogram is? Did you wonder what the scale would say if we added one more bag? Did you wonder how much half the bags would weigh? Those are all great questions. Now let's take a look at the last question. What does this make you think about fractions and decimals? Do you think that these are both ways to represent a number less than a whole? Great job. Let's go ahead and go on to the next slide. So we're going to be looking at slides C and D next. So we know that the 10 bags are equal to 1 kilogram. And if you're curious about what 1 kilogram is about, it's about the weight of a bunch of bananas. So let's take a look at that tape diagram first. It might help us with this problem. Let's place a bag of rice in each of these little boxes here. So we put one bag of rice, 2 bags. We had 10 bags, so we have to place all 10 bags here. And we have to think about how much one bag weighs. So this might help us out figuring out how much one of these bags of rice weighs. So we know that all 10 of these equals 1 kilogram. Now it wants us to determine the weight of each bag of rice. So if we look at that one bag, think about it. How much would one bag weigh if we know that all 10 will give us a whole? How would we say that in a fractional form? How would we say one bag out of these 10? Yeah, we'd say 1/10 of a kilogram. Now, how much of that is in decimal form? How would we write that in decimal form? Well, let's go ahead and put one of these bags on our scale. So one bag would be 1/10. How about if we put 2 bags? How much would that be? 2/10 of a kilogram, right? How about if we put 3 bags? 3/10 of a kilogram. How about if we go ahead and put 5 bags? How much would that be? Half a kilogram. How about if we went ahead and put 9? 9/10 of a kilogram. And if we put that 10th one on there, we get a whole kilogram. So what is the weight of one bag? That one bag weighs 1/10 of a kilogram, or we can write it as 0.1. And we'd read that since there are no whole numbers, we just pay attention to the number that's to the right, which is 1, and then we name the place value that it's in, and that is in the tenths place. So we read it as 1/10 of a kilogram. What is the weight of 2 bags? So 2 bags would weigh 2/10, right? 2 out of 10 bags, 2/10 of a kilogram. Or we can read it as, again, since there are no wholes, you'll read it as just that number 2 and name its place value, tenths. 2/10 of a kilogram. Great job. Let's go ahead to the next, before we go to the next slide, I want us to take a look at another part of this. So again, we're going to use the tape diagram and the number line to represent the total weight of rice every time a bag is added to the scale. So if we have one bag, it's 1/10 of a kilogram. We add another bag, now we have 1/10 and 1/10, which gives us 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and then 10/10 or a whole. So in completing this number line, we're seeing here that we're counting by tenths, right? We start at 0. So we have 0/10, then 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, 10/10, or a whole. The same thing here. This is called a decimal number. We read the decimal as 1/10, just like the fraction 1/10. And if we're completing this bottom number line, we count by tenths again. So 1 is in the tenths place, so we say 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and then a whole. So let's just close up this video segment by just kind of going over what we're looking at today. So it says here, what do we know about decimals? Well, we know a decimal number is a number written using place value units that are powers of 10. We know that this decimal number represents 0 wholes and 8/10. It is read as 8/10 and is equivalent to the decimal fraction 8/10. We know that a period is used to separate the whole number part from the fractional part of the decimal number. This is called a decimal point. So you'll notice here in 0.8, we have the separation between the ones place and the tenths place. If we take a look here at these area models, or sort of like our base 10 blocks, we see that 1 out of the 10 columns are shaded. We can write it as 1 out of 10 columns or 1/10. Right? And here, if we shade 1 out of the 100 squares, we can write it as 1/100th or 0.1. So we'll have a 1 in the hundredths place. So we read it as 1/100th. And lastly, just to kind of go over the decimal place value chart, here you have the tens columns, ones column, you have a period, the tenths, and the hundredths. So we read the number to the left of the decimal place first. We read the whole numbers first. When we get to the decimal point, we say and. So whenever we see that decimal point, we're going to say and. And finally, we say the number to the right of the decimal point. So we'd say 68. And name the place value to the rightmost spot. So the rightmost spot is the hundredths. So we read it as 68 hundredths. So the entire number, we would read it as 24 and 68 hundredths. So I hope this video segment helped you in exploring today's topic of the decomposition of one whole into tenths. Great job today, and I'll see you next time.